Good day everyone, I want to welcome you to my channel Double O Des. For those new subscribers, thank you very much for subscribing to this channel. And for those of you who have not subscribed yet, please subscribe and click the bell icon to get notifications on new videos. And also go back to the playlist and look at the Question Everything as well as the Moments in Time series. And I will be adding to those videos. The theme for the Double O Des channel is to give new perspective to history as well as the future of the world. And this obviously includes South Africa, where I am a resident. My personal concerns are first for South Africa and my family. And this is why I started this YouTube channel Double O Des, with a background that I have in South Africa, the background that I have with regards to experiences that I've had, and the background that I have experiencing very unique things under very unique conditions within this country. And I will be able to give you more of that information in my meetings, and I will be able to give you more information in future videos. And like I said before, I've probably only put out about 2% of all the files that I've planned on my computer, and while I was on tour, it was very difficult for me to actually get around to putting out more Question Everything and Moments in Time series videos. So there is a lot of work to be done. Earlier today, I said that I would put out a comprehensive video later today on the state of the world, and especially with a focus on the US and what happened there and how that affects what is happening in the rest of the world, and especially in South Africa. And the theme for this video is shout louder, because this is what we need to do. The people that shout the loudest gets heard, and those that don't are the silent majority. The world has been in commotion since long before this coronavirus pandemic. And for those of you that have been to my meetings, who I've met personally, would have heard my account of my father telling me about this pandemic in 2004 in rather meticulous detail. And it makes it impossible for me to ignore that he had very specific knowledge of this event, that it was foreplanned, that he did not know exactly when it would play out, but that he knew how it would play out, not just in the world, but specifically in South Africa. It would not be the first time that entire countries during times of war or during this COVID-19 pandemic have actually had governments that decided to take the freedom of the people in those countries away and take many of their rights away. Here in South Africa, during the First and Second World War, many things were imposed by government at the time. Even although the war was not happening here, we certainly participated. And the people here suffered because of supply issues and many other things that were restricted. I remember still having a little flour sieve that you could turn to make your own flour that my grandmother had, that was used during the World War to actually make flour when flour wasn't available. And people actually did this illegally. Yes, there was a restriction on flour, believe it or not. Since the restrictions of this COVID-19 pandemic started, the sleeping giant, the sleeping masses that don't shout loud, they just carry on with their lives, that sit on the hamster wheel, in the case of South Africa, a very wobbly hamster wheel with a couple of spokes missing, so that the hamster has to literally train itself how to jump every now and again, and how to actually jump off the hamster wheel when they are not in a perpetual cycle of work. In the rest of the world, there are hamster wheels, as I've told many people before in my meetings, that spin like a dream. They are gilded on the sides. They have very soft cushions. It's very easy for the hamster to run on the wheel, and it runs at a very fast speed. There's only one problem. This hamster is caged in. It cannot get off this hamster wheel. At least in South Africa, with our wobbly hamster wheel, with a couple of spokes missing, with it being dirty and filthy, we can still jump off. even though you need to actually make sure that you time it right, or you might just hit something on the way out. In almost all my meetings around the country, I asked a very simple question. Who of the people in the room, if they had a gun, would be the most powerful? And the answer is very simple. Some of the people say the one with the quickest draw. But it's the person willing to pull the trigger. That is the most powerful person in the room. At the moment, the largest gun in the world belongs to the US military. And a lot of people might want to debate this, but it is indisputable. And what just happened in America is the fact that we have a big fight over who will control that trigger in future. And this is not insignificant. This is extremely important and extremely significant for South Africa. And I will explain. The powers in the world that I explained in detail in my meetings, and if you come to my future meetings, I will be able to explain to you who controls the government of South Africa, have only one very big weapon right now besides the military, and that is the media as well as the schooling system. So with these two extremely powerful weapons, this new world order is being established very fast. The presidency of Donald Trump was probably the largest spanner in the works of the progression of these New World Order plans, as he himself played out against the people who are threatening to take the freedom, not only of the people in the USA or in South Africa, but the rest of the world away. Because you see, these people are a global clique. To them, borders do not exist. To them, governments do not exist. In fact, they don't want any governments to exist anywhere in the world, except for a one world government with a one world leader and a one world religion. To these people that control world governments, money is but a tool. It means absolutely nothing, because power is everything to them. And the US military is 100% a way for them to wield that power. And during the 4 years of Donald Trump as president of the USA, that trigger was removed from their grasp, and this infuriated them to no end. The aftermath of the Donald Trump 2016 election, which I closely monitored and watched, just like I did the current elections, was plain and simply the largest media anti-Trump campaign or anti-US president campaign ever to be launched in the history of planet Earth, and has continued to this very day. Billions and billions of dollars have been spent to get the trigger back into the hand of the people that want to create a one world government. And to do this, the American borders have to be removed, and the American military needs to fall into their hands. In between these world powers that actually control the governments and all the institutions around the world, you get everything in between. From the lowliest person on planet Earth without food, with absolute hunger in their stomachs, hoping for a meal from somewhere, to the people with absolute power that are filthy rich. You get everyone. And the middle class was the target during this COVID-19 pandemic. Now the middle class is a wide range of people with a wide range of wants and whims and a wide range of political viewpoints, all manipulated by these world powers, both on the extreme left as well as on the extreme right. You see, political boxes were all created by them, as well as the systems that everyone fights over: communism and capitalism. Both these systems created by these world powers, with socialism created in between to be the soft spot in politics, the revered spot in politics, absolutely being promoted in what is currently known as the most powerful country in the world, the USA. Now, how did a country such as the USA get themselves into this position with their constitution, with all their amendments? How did they get here? The answer is very, very simple. Like I said before, the media and the school system, as well as the tertiary education system. Both of these mainstream institutions have been infiltrated by a very specific doctrine that believes that we need to give up our individual freedom for the greater good of mankind. And all the commotions being experienced around the world is for this world power to achieve this one objective: to take the freedom for man to choose completely away. And you will see this enacted everywhere around the world currently. It is absolutely impossible for these world powers to implement this new world order, utopian governance system with a one world government, a one world leader, and a one world religion, if they have people that are free to think, free to fight, free to express themselves, and free to resist their freedom being taken away. So the first thing these world powers have to do is make sure that they start to show people the new normal. A new normal where you will lose your freedom to choose many, many things in life, and tell you that it is for your greater good and for the greater good of humanity, and convince you and your children that this is what you should support, and that anyone that does not support this narrative, that they are evil, that they need to be stopped at all cost, and that they are the enemy. Well, I will gladly be that enemy. Now that the enemy part is sorted out, I want to speak about something that is extremely important. And this is comprehension. You know, it's a subject that all of us had in school, where we had to be able to read something and then actually comprehend what we have read. And I think it's time that some of us spend time on learning how to comprehend things again. And not just learning how to comprehend things, but think about things deeply, analyzing things. How do you comprehend what is actually being said or what you're actually seeing? Especially since this COVID-19 lockdown, where the largest flooding of social media, misinformation, etc. has just flown through the airwaves and all over the internet, on television stations, on radio stations, on social media, on all kinds of platforms. I would say about 95% misinformation and 5% truth. And if you have proper comprehension and you really study the thought of what comprehension actually is, you can circumnavigate the 95% and actually filter out the rubbish and get to the 5% truth. And just to give you a few quick examples, if you think that a radio antenna sitting in Canada can cause earthquakes in South Africa, then I would recommend that you go and comprehend what a radio antenna is, how much power it actually uses, in which direction it actually sends its signals, and then try to understand the kind of power it takes to create an earthquake, and see whether it's possible for any antenna on planet Earth to create any kind of earthquake. Now, this is just one example. There are many, many more. One of these examples is, for instance, people that said that 300,000 kids were stuck in tunnels under the ground that were part of a child trafficking syndicate. Now, the people that said something like this, and that said that these tunnels are being blown up in that specific instance, don't understand how many 300,000 people actually are, the kind of ventilation required, the kind of logistics required with regards to toilet and feeding facilities for 300,000 children. To actually make statements and send it around social media to say that the earthquakes in Cape Town are underground tunnels being blown up to actually save these children from the tunnels. Comprehend what you are saying and then think. In the nuclear industry, we had a very simple saying, and it was called the STAR principle. Stop, think, act, review. So before you send out that WhatsApp message on tunnels being blown up underneath the ocean just off Cape Town, think about the practicality of that. Think whether there's any proof for this. Think about the logistics of removing children from these massive tunnels that are 5 to 10 kilometers under the ocean, far out at sea. And then act. And maybe your action should be to not send that WhatsApp message on. And then review what you have done. Review is a very good thing. Actually look at what you have done, what the results it actually got. What did you create through your actions? And see if you can change your behavior in future. Those two examples will suffice for now. Having the ability to sift fact from fiction is really difficult during these times, but you should make it your top priority to become better at it, because when you do that, you will be able to shout louder with truth. Because when you shout louder with fake news, you are not helping our cause. We have real serious problems in this world. They are extensive, they are severe, and we need to act in unison with good, proper information by sifting the fact from the fiction properly if we want to win this fight. And guess where the fiction comes from? The very world powers. They create the fiction that many of us believe, and that is why we need to become better at stopping, thinking, acting, and then reviewing what we have done, what we have thought, and what we're going to do in future. So what are the real serious problems that we face right now? What should you look out for? And this is very simple. Your freedom being taken away in the name of the greater good of mankind. And we have extensive examples of this. Most of the videos I put out deal with this. Whether it's your pension money being taken away, that is your freedom to use the money that you've built up through your labor to use in your old day being removed. If you cannot go to the shop past 12 o'clock at night, if my wife needs a Panado for a headache, for instance, I can't drive to the engine garage up the road and actually go and purchase that after 12 o'clock. Now this is a serious problem, because my right and freedom is being taken away from 12 till 4 in the morning by a government that has absolutely no right to do that. These are regulations, not laws. Around the world, you will see, and I will do many more videos on this. And if you have not watched many of my videos, please go back and look at the videos, go through the playlists. I categorize them specifically. You will see how many things are changing to take your freedom away. And many things will happen, like real children being abducted and taken away, to get parents to want to chip their children in future so that they can be monitored, tracked and traced. It's very easy. The world powers will create the problem and they will also create the solution. This is always how they work. This is perfectly a part of the plan. And the US is a big part of that plan. And Biden being announced as the president-elect prematurely is a big example of how the world powers that have all conspired together in this event have decided that Donald Trump will be thrown under the bus. They will trample on the American Constitution, and Donald Trump will only be inaugurated while America is under civil war. That is the only way it will happen. And I can tell you now, they will rather bomb the place, burn down the White House, destroy every single city in the US before Donald Trump will be inaugurated, whether rightfully or not. And many people were very upset with me when I stated simple facts. And one thing you need to realize is that America is split down the middle right now. People are fighting two simple things: the freedom to choose and the right for you to give up your freedom to choose. There's only one problem. I don't have a problem if you want to give up your right to choose, but do not force me to do the same. And this is where a line is drawn in the sand. And the silent majority in the USA is now waking up to this reality. Because you see, the people that are conservative, they just want to live their lives. They just want to go to work, be on the hamster wheel, come back home and carry on with their lives. While the people that have shouted the loudest all these years, the minorities, are now in power. They are taking power because the silent majority has been silent. So how do we change this? Very simply, we need to wake up the silent majority and we need to shout louder. And we can only shout louder and be believed if we speak truth, because truth resonates with people. And what is happening with the media and the school systems around the world right now is the silent masses are listening to what they are saying. And because they are lying, chronically lying, people don't believe them anymore. But there are the people that have already given over their freedom to choose for the greater good of mankind. And these people do not have a voice anymore, except to burn things down, shoot people, attack people, riot, do anything and everything that's uncivil, because this is the only thing they know. This is the only way they know how to express themselves. And this is a place for a monumental confrontation, especially in the United States. And I've mentioned before in my meetings that the US is split in two, that it will go into civil war over these simple ideologies, the right to choose versus the people that have already given up their right to choose and believe that others should do the same. So what is happening in the United States of America right now, and how does this affect South Africa? Well, quite simply, the silent majority has now woken up. They are taking to the streets. They are getting out of their comfort zones, and they are only starting to become louder. Now, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris being announced as the president and vice president elect, a series of events started unfolding around the world, which is all part of the plan of the world powers, because these two people are straightforwardly beholden to them. They don't have any choice. They are mere puppets. And what is in motion right now is a media frenzy to make sure that the 4 years that were lost under the Trump presidency is literally hauled in within a year. So you will see world powers now emboldened by this trigger of the gun that is now in their hands again, empowering leaders around the world that are part of the New World Order stooge brigade, like our President Cyril Ramaphosa, implement exactly what they want without even batting an eyelid or thinking. Not that many of them were capable of thinking to begin with. Because if you were a world power, do you want a president in a country or a monarch to question you. That would be absolutely stupid. So it would be imperative that idiots are put into leadership positions around the world. People that are willing to bend over backwards and pinch the washers when it needs be. And titanium washers it'll be in future. Because you see, their very own governments, their little puppet governments are going to go to ruin. Because this is also part of the plan. So they won't survive for long in any case. After they have implemented these New World Order plans, they will be spat out the other side like the cheap rubbish that they have become. And it's not going to be a pretty sight. So politics is going to become extremely nasty going forward. And American politics will be no different. Now, the silent majority waking up are not people that care about politics much, as I've said earlier. But they do care about one thing, their freedom and the right to choose. They also care about the Constitution of the United States. And in many other European countries, people that believe in their freedom have stood up and shown themselves in great numbers. Now, what have we done in South Africa? Question mark, question mark. So, the last thing I want to speak of is how can we become louder? Now, South Africans are not going to be like the rest of the world. We are different. We are not going to take to the streets in these hundreds of thousands in numbers. So, when we do get to a point where we lose everything, this might happen, but it'll have to prove it to me that we actually have it in us to do something like that. But in the meantime, what you can do to shout louder, speak to people around you, wear shirts like this shirt that I wear in most of my meetings, this direct election shirt. There you can see, it's got lots of dots on it. This direct election shirt bears the logo, hashtag direct elections, and as well as that we want to change the way that we elect our leaders. And this is an easy discussion point with friends and family. You can go to the hashtag direct elections group and you can join that group, and it is there purely on Facebook as an awareness campaign. It is not a social media chat group. What I want people to do is to go out, print stickers, print caps, t-shirts, anything to create awareness for the concept of direct elections. The other thing that you can do is shout out against injustices. Speak about it. Use the social media as long as you can. Be clever about how you use it so you're not censored. Speak to people face to face, in the aisle at shopping centers, anywhere you can. Some people might reject you, but the louder you get, the more people will listen. I will repeat that. The louder you get, the more people will listen. And as our numbers grow, and they are, we will start forming a critical mass that's unavoidable, that cannot just be rejected. And the silent majority always want to feel like they fit in. And soon people will start listening. First just listening. And then they will start thinking. And then they will start acting. And this is what we need at this stage. So, by shouting louder, and this is not literally shouting louder, this is figurative. Shout as loud as you can on social media. Start your own YouTube channel. Shout out on Facebook. Shout out on Twitter. Shout out on Instagram. Wherever you can. Spread the message. There are many of you already doing it. And I want to thank you. You know who you are. There are some real warriors out there that shout the loudest. We need more people to shout louder than the minority that has taken power away from us because we've been stuck on the hamster wheel while they have cared about their rights. And they believe that we should lose certain rights because they don't like what we believe. And I cannot fall for that. I cannot live in that world, and I will defend my family, their rights to be able to choose, the rights of my children to be able to choose in future, the rights of people to practice their religion and their beliefs any which way they want. I will not have someone force me to call them something that I don't think they are. I will not force someone to tell me what to believe religiously or non-religiously. It is up to me, and it's up to you, and you should have a right to believe whatever you may. So once again, thank you to all those warriors out there that are shouting loudly, that are shouting louder and louder every day. We need you to continue doing that. Remember, one way to actually show that you stand for something is to show it in what you wear, in stickers on the cars, anything that creates awareness. So please, whatever it is that you believe in, when it comes to our right to choose and our freedom of choice, please shout loudly. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed to this channel. If you have not yet, please subscribe and click the bell icon for future notifications. Also, if you can, support this channel so that this channel can continue with the work, so that I can continue with my tour around the country and speak to people and give them the detail that they need, give them the lowdown of the dirt within politics, everything that I've experienced, the things that I've seen, and how we're going to tackle this in future by shouting louder. Thank you very much. Till the next video.